Fishing trips are supposed to be peaceful, aren't they? A chance to escape, to enjoy the quiet, to sit by the water and forget about the stress of everyday life. But what if the solitude you seek is interrupted by something you can't explain? What if the water hides more than just fish? Tonight, I have 3 terrifying stories of fishing trips that took a turn for the worse. These men thought they were just out for a relaxing day on the water, but they had no idea what was waiting for them. These are not legends. These are real encounters, told by those who barely made it back. And they just entered the realm of Mr. Scary Guy. Prepare yourself for a journey beyond the ordinary, into the shadows of your deepest fears. Welcome to the world of Mr. Scary Guy. I never believed in the supernatural. Ghost stories, urban legends, they were all just that to me. Stories. I was the kind of guy who laughed at horror movies, the kind who dismissed every strange noise as the wind. But something happened to me last summer that I still can't explain. It was supposed to be a quiet weekend alone. I had just gone through a rough breakup, and I needed to clear my head. So, I packed up my old truck, strapped my fishing gear to the back, and drove out to Pine Hollow Lake, a secluded spot about 3 hours from my house. I had been there a few times before, and I liked it because hardly anyone else ever went. Just me, the water, and the sound of nature. I arrived late in the afternoon, set up my small tent by the shore, and spent the evening drinking beer and watching the sunset over the water. It was beautiful, peaceful, exactly what I needed. The first sign that something was wrong came just after midnight. I was lying in my tent, half asleep, when I heard something moving outside. Not an animal, not the wind. This was different. Slow, deliberate footsteps. I held my breath, listening. My truck was parked a few feet away, and my first thought was that someone was trying to break into it. But then I realized something that sent a shiver through me. The footsteps weren't coming from the land, they were coming from the lake. I sat up, my heart pounding, and unzipped the tent just enough to peek outside. The moon was bright, reflecting off the water, and for a moment, everything looked normal. But then I saw it. A figure, standing knee-deep in the lake. At first I thought it was just another fisherman, but as my eyes adjusted, I realized something was terribly wrong. The figure wasn't moving. It wasn't fishing. It was just standing there, watching me. I couldn't make out any details, just a dark silhouette against the shimmering water. But I could feel it staring at me. I don't know how long I sat there frozen. Maybe a minute, maybe an hour. But then, without a sound, the figure slowly sank beneath the water and disappeared. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat up in my tent, gripping my pocket knife, staring at the lake until the sun finally rose. The next morning, I told myself I had imagined it. I was tired. Maybe it had been a trick of the light. That's what I kept repeating as I grabbed my fishing pole and waded into the lake. But then I saw them. Footprints. They led from the shore straight into the water. But there were no footprints coming back out. I left everything. My tent, my gear, even my truck. I ran, heart pounding, all the way to the nearest road and flagged down a passing car. I never went back to Pine Hollow Lake. But sometimes, late at night, I hear it again. The sound of footsteps coming from the water. I was 15 when I saw it. It happened at my uncle's cabin, a small wooden house nestled at the edge of Black Hollow Lake, a place so remote It didn't even appear on most maps. We went there every summer to fish, swim, and enjoy the outdoors. It was our tradition, one I had always loved. That summer, though, something changed. My uncle had recently built a wooden dock, stretching about 20 feet into the water. Before that, we had always fished from the shore or taken the boat out. But now, we had a perfect spot to cast our lines and sit for hours under the sun. I spent every afternoon there, my legs dangling over the side, watching the water ripple beneath me. I remember the first time I felt it, like something was off. It wasn't anything obvious at first, just an uneasy feeling whenever I sat alone on the dock. The air felt too still, the lake too quiet, the fish too scarce. Normally, you'd see little ripples breaking the water's surface, signs of life beneath. But now, the lake was eerily still, as if something had driven everything else away. One afternoon, while my uncle and dad were gutting fish inside the cabin, I was sitting alone on the dock, my fishing pole resting beside me, my bare feet swaying above the water. The sky was overcast, making the lake seem darker than usual. That's when I saw it. At first, I thought it was a log, a long, dark shape beneath the surface about 10 feet out. But then I noticed something strange. It wasn't floating. It was gliding. Slow, deliberate movement, like something swimming just below the surface. Too big for a fish, too smooth for a submerged branch. I leaned forward, my breath catching in my throat. Then, the thing stopped, directly below me. I couldn't see it clearly through the dark water, but I felt it. That uncanny, crawling sensation at the back of my neck. The kind that tells you someone is watching. And then, as I stared into the blackness, something looked back. Two pale, milky eyes opened beneath the water. Not a fish's eyes, not human eyes. Just wrong. I froze. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. I wanted to scream, to scramble away, but my body wouldn't move. Then, slowly, something else emerged from the depths. A hand. Long, too thin, pale as a dead fish's belly. The fingers were stretched unnaturally long, the skin waxy, the knuckles bulging. It was reaching up. The fingers brushed the underside of the dock, and a sound, a slow, deliberate tap, echoed through the wood beneath me. I snapped out of my paralysis, scrambling backwards so fast that I nearly fell into the water. My fishing pole slid off the dock and disappeared into the lake. I didn't care. I ran. I tore up the path to the cabin, burst through the door, gasping for breath. My uncle and dad looked up from their work, startled.
"What the hell's wrong with you?"
My uncle asked, wiping fish guts from his hands. I tried to speak, but I couldn't. I just shook my head, still shaking, still seeing those eyes in my mind. When I finally managed to stammer out what had happened, my uncle exchanged a glance with my dad. They didn't laugh. They didn't tell me I was seeing things. They just looked worried. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the lake, the hand, the eyes peering up from the dark. Sometime around midnight, I heard something that made my blood run cold. Tap, tap, tap. I bolted upright in bed, my heart hammering. The sound was faint, but unmistakable. Something tapping against the dock. I forced myself to look out the window. The lake was shrouded in mist, the dock barely visible in the dim moonlight. And then I saw it. A figure, half submerged, standing just beneath the dock. Motionless, watching. I never went near that lake again. I'm a commercial fisherman. I've spent most of my life on the water. I know the sea. I trust the sea. But there was one night, years ago, that still haunts me. We were out late, pulling in the last of the nets before heading back to shore. It was just me and my partner, Dale. The water was calm, the sky moonless, the air thick with the scent of salt. We were alone, or so we thought.
Hey,
Dale muttered, nudging me and pointing out across the water.
there's a boat out there.
I turned, following his gaze. A small wooden rowboat drifted about 100 yards away. No lights, no movement, just floating in the dark. We called out, but no one answered. Then, the boat began to turn. Not from the current, not from an oar. It turned, as if something beneath the water was pulling it. And then, just as quickly as it had appeared, it sank. No splash, no sound. Just gone. Dale and I stared at each other, unsure of what we had just seen. Then, without a word, he grabbed the spotlight and aimed it at the water where the boat had been. Nothing. No debris, no bubbles, just endless black water. We should have left right then. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. We motored over, cutting the engine when we reached the spot. Dale leaned over the edge, peering down into the inky depths. I don't know what he saw, but when he screamed, it was the most terrified sound I had ever heard. He fell backward, scrambling away from the edge, eyes wide with panic.
Go. Get us out of here.
I didn't ask. I didn't look. I just fired up the engine and sped us toward shore. Dale wouldn't talk about it, wouldn't say what he saw. But that night, as we sat in the safety of the harbor, he muttered something I'll never forget.
It wasn't a boat.
He whispered.
It was a mouth.
The water is vast, deep, unknown. People think they're safe out there, but some places, some lakes, some oceans, hide things we're not meant to see. So the next time you're out fishing alone, pay attention. You never know what might be watching you from beneath the surface. This is Mr. Scary Guy saying, good night. Sleep tight, if you dare. Thanks for watching till the end. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe by clicking the icon above. We've also got a playlist full of scary stories on your left side, and a suggested video you'll love on the right. Choose one and keep the scares going.